Dejon Stribling is big. He's fast. He blocks. He's got Packers receiver type written all over him.
You are Locked On Packers, your daily Green Bay Packers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Packers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm Peter Bukowski, and I cover the Packers for The Leap, a newsletter I would love for you to subscribe to. Thanks to everyone who makes Locked On Packers their first listen every day. We hope you like starting your day with us as much as we like starting our day with you here on the Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 sports podcast network. A GUTEY'S GUYS on Dejon Stribling, the receiver from Ole Miss. We'll talk about what he does well, what he doesn't do so well, and his fit on the Green Bay Packers in 2026 and beyond. And we know the Packers are very specific about what they want from a receiver body. 6'2", 207. Okay, check. Runs 4.3s, check. Okay, and was productive enough in college. Just 36th percentile in the Dominator, so that's accounting for what share of the big important plays in his offense that he makes, but 72nd percentile in breakout age. You got to be 50th percentile or higher in one of those to have a chance to be a 1,000-yard receiver in the NFL. That's what history says. You have to be the outlier of outliers to break that curse. So he is someone that would give you that potential upside if that's what you want from him, and we'll get to the value piece of this in a second. Now, he did just turn 23. 97th percentile speed score. At 207, ran 4.3 flat. That is hauling ass. 68th percentile burst score, so good jumps. He popped when I was watching Dalen Everett, and all of a sudden I'm like, who is that guy? Now, had a circuitous career. Washington State for 2 years, Oklahoma State for 2 years, and then Ole Miss. He was 3 years, though, over 600 yards and 2 over 800 yards. So we're talking about a guy who produced in college basically everywhere he went, over 2 in yards per route run. That's kind of the magic number. A little below the 75th percentile, but anything over 2 is good. Anything over 3 is elite. 75th-ish percentile against man coverage. What you love is he's not just fast, even though he is fast and you see it. He is a willing blocker. He will block you. And if you're the Packers, Malik Heath was getting on the field because he blocks, and that's about it. Allen Lazard was getting on the field because he blocks. Now, he was friends with Aaron Rodgers too, but because he blocks. That was the appeal of having that guy on the field. Stribling is not a refined route runner. He's not going to go up and make adversity plays. But he won vertically against Mansour Lane and LSU multiple times. Didn't get the ball. Was pretty sacrificial. Like, they basically did not look at that matchup all day. But he won vertically, and Mansour Lane ran in the 4.3s. This guy's speed is eye-popping. And he reminds me of a recent former Packer. We'll get to that in a second. He put an LSU DB on his ass with a shock block. Just bang. And he can make a catch and play through contact. So it's not like he's some soft speed receiver. Like, he's a legit 207. He can make a catch and take a hit, or make a catch and play through contact at the catch point. But he's not going to go up and moss guys. And that's okay, because he's fast enough that it doesn't really matter. We talked about this play with Dalen Everett on the GUTEY'S GUYS episode. He turned a simple hitch, into an 80-yard touchdown, where Dalen Everett guesses the wrong direction. He turns the opposite way and is gone. And I mean gone. Dalen Everett runs fast. He's a fast enough corner. He's a high 4.3, low 4.4s guy. And Stribling dusts him. That play makes you go, oh my gosh. Now, he can also throttle down and slam on the brakes. The problem is, none of these Ole Miss receivers run real routes. Like, there is not a route tree here. And so the question is going to be what you think he can do running actual NFL routes. I think that's going to be a bit of an adjustment for him. In a lot of these college offenses, you're just not asked to do it. So you have to identify traits. Can he throttle? I think he can throttle down, drop his weight. Can he get in and out of breaks at speed at a higher level, where I guess we'll see. He's not someone who I think is gonna ever be that high end route runner. Zach Cruz compared him to Romeo Dobbs. I think Dobbs is a much better route runner than what we see from Stribbling. I think Dobbs' college tape showed more change of direction than we saw from Stribbling. But with that speed, I kind of don't care. He reminds me of Marquez Valdes-Scantling. And that may seem like an insult in some ways, but it's really not. Here's where I landed on Dejon Stribling. He's a nice secondary pass catcher. He's not going to get open consistently with his route running, but he will with his speed, which is eye-popping. He's a threat to score with the ball in his hands from anywhere because of that. And he's a vertical threat from day one. He's a solid blocker and has some MVS in his game where if he's your speed wide receiver 3, you're happy. But on the right day, he could be a 4 for 160 and 2 because of his field stretching ability. He has special teams value as a gunner because of his side speed and toughness. And I love that he's a speed guy who will block, which means he's just as valuable on first down when you can take the top off as when he's asked to block to set up those play action shot plays. And that part is so key here. On first down, if you have Malik Heath in the game, or on 3rd and 1, 2nd and 2, if you have Malik Heath in the game, you are just not as explosive offensively. And I think there were too many times over the last couple of years where Matt LaFleur, at the expense of versatility, is telegraphing what he wants to do. Even if he's not truly like, okay, I'm running 80% of the time when Malik Heath is in the game, you're hurting your offense by having Malik Heath be the guy out there running, that big over route instead of Dontavian Wicks or Christian Watson or Romeo Dobbs or Matthew Golden or even, frankly, Bo Melton. Someone like Stribbling bridges that gap for you. Like Marquez Valdes-Scantling was the best receiver on the field in the NFC Championship game that featured Devontae Adams and Mike Evans. Like let's not forget, because the Packers lost that game, that's the thing that happened. There is real value here in a big, fast guy who can block. Now, I think he's a late 4 or late 3, early 4. For me, Dane Brugler has him in the top 70. That would be a little bit rich for me, but let's talk about his fit for the Packers a little bit more next. It's tax time, but for a lot of us, the old way of doing taxes is a lot. Trying to book an appointment that's not the most convenient, sitting in a waiting room with a stack of papers, emailing back and forth and wondering if they really get your situation. But this year, you're getting a major upgrade. Intuit TurboTax now has in-person locations nationwide. You can meet face-to-face with a real tax expert, and your documents get uploaded straight to your TurboTax app on the spot. And just like that, you're done. Your TurboTax expert works to get you every dollar you deserve, while you get real-time notifications as you go about your day. It's the relief of walking in and meeting a real person and walking out knowing your taxes are being handled the right way. Head to turbotax.com/local to find a store near you and book your appointment. Workplace chaos, deadlines stacking up, inbox overflowing, and the one position you have to fill still sitting open. When the pressure's on and you need the right hire, that's a job for Sponsored Jobs. Indeed, Sponsored Jobs helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for with the skills, experience, and location, so you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post. And here's a stat that says it all. In the minute I've been talking to you, companies like yours have made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all the boxes with Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing. And listeners of this show will get $75 in sponsored job credit to help get the premium status your job deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire. That's a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. The NBA playoffs are here, where every possession matters, every matchup is magnified, and every game can swing a series. And right now, FanDuel is giving new customers a great way to get in on the action. Here's what I like about it. You can bet just $5, get $250 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. I don't want to shortchange you. 200, not 100, $250 in bonus bets if that first bet wins. The app makes it easy to follow the action with player stats, trends, and matchups all in one place. And during the playoffs, that extra insight really matters when you're looking at stars, Might be looking at role players. Might be looking at key moments, live betting, halftime, all that good stuff. It just makes the entire playoff experience more engaging from start to finish, whether you're betting, hey, made threes, or you could be just betting the over, or how about just the point spread, because that's a good way to go. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. FanDuel, play your game. We don't need to rehash the need and the conversations around Dontavian Wicks and all that stuff. Green Bay has to get some depth at receiver. And what they do there and where they do it is going to tell us a lot about the way that they feel about the guys currently on the roster. I don't think you can justify, unless you just absolutely love a guy. Like, for example, I have a draft crush on Ted Hurst. I can justify him at 52, depending on who else is on the board, because I don't love this defensive tackle class. And I think there are a ton of guys in the third round I would love to draft at corner. And so, yeah, if one of the great corners is there, cool, draft him. If one of the really good defensive tackles, and I think there's really only 2 or 3 for the Packers. I think it's Kristen Miller, Caleb Banks, if the foot checks out, and Dominique Orange. If you can get one of those guys, and maybe you need to, when we did the Locked On Packer or Locked On podcast draft, I drafted one of those guys because I felt like I had to, because I didn't know what I was going to get later in the draft. And if I'm the Packers, I don't want to be operating from that situation. I think they need to sign someone to alleviate this burden. Something we talk about this week on Locked On Packers. But the opportunity here at receiver, to me, third round, fourth round. When we did our mock draft Monday this week, Trey Lance was there at 120. Now, I don't know if that's going to happen in real life, but I think round 3, round 4, that's where this receiver room is most likely to benefit. Because you have your number 1 receiver with Christian Watson. You have a future high-end number 2, maybe even 1B sort of option to Matthew Golden. And then you either got to figure it out with Jaden Reed, or Savion Williams gets a chance to elevate in there. Having another guy with a different kind of skill set from Golden, he's a somewhat similar skill set to Christian Watson, but to have another guy that can run, like if you have Matthew Golden in the slot, or Christian Watson in the slot, or Stribbling even in the slot, especially to attack these 2 high coverages, 3 guys that are 4-3 or better on the field at once, plus Tucker Kraft, like that is a lot of snap speed, and you allow yourself to dictate terms to opposing offenses. And there's a number of guys. Ted Hurst is like that. Chris Brazel is like that. Stribling is like that. You big, strong, fast. You dictate terms when you have a group of skill talent like that. And so early in the draft, I think you have to feel pretty strongly about that guy. And I think that would signal to us, if they take a receiver at 52, they are signaling to us, Jaden Reed, your days in Green Bay are numbered. I really believe that, because you can't justify it otherwise. Or Christian Watson, like, I guess we'll see. I don't think that's the most likely outcome at 52, but at 84, and then definitely at 120, that's where this conversation starts. Now, they brought in 2 guys, Brazel and Ted Hurst, each got visits. 30 visits already. Now, Brazel, it's part of it has got to be, what's the situation with your acuity, because that Tennessee offense is so fake. Ted Hurst, what drew you to stay at Georgia State rather than transfer and compete against the best in college football, rather than stay at this lower level where you were dominating? I understand that. But those are day 2 guys, which leads me to believe that they are in the market on day 2 at receiver. And so Dane Brugler does not put Dejon Stribling at 67 in the beast without scouting with his ears a little bit. Teams really like this guy, and it is not hard to see why. A guy this explosive, even with the limited route running tree, who also blocks for an offense like the Packers, for an offense like the 49ers, for an offense like the Dolphins, for an offense like every team in the league could use a guy like this, but especially if you want to play balanced offense, if you want to be a play action outside zone offense, if you want to be Like imagine if Jameson Williams could also really block. I'm not saying Stribbling is that kind of deep threat, but like just imagine how much better, more value you could derive from him in those situations. Marquez Valdes-Scantling, if he could block, would have been an even more valuable player, and he was an essential piece on 2 championship caliber offenses. Now they had a real number one in Devontae Adams in a way that the Packers don't with Christian Watson, but someone like Stribbling then becomes a higher end wide receiver 3. The question is, what is the value of that? Well, wide receiver 3 is a starter in the NFL. So if Jayden Reed is not a long-term piece here, then it makes sense to use a 3rd round pick on that guy. It seems like they want to draft someone, which is why I'm going, I think this is it for Jayden Reed. It just seems most likely. Like if you're looking at high-end receiver options, you just use 2 top 100 picks, and everyone assumes you're going to pay Christian Watson. So you can't justify paying Jayden Reed and using a top 100 pick on a receiver if you're also paying Christian Watson. That just doesn't make sense. So I am pretty dubious about all this. It certainly keeps your options open, but Stribbling is the kind of guy I could see a team like the Packers overpaying for draft slot wise, because Matt LaFleur likes guys with defined skill sets, with a defined elite trait. That's why I don't think some of the other receivers like Elijah Surratt, Jeremy Bernard, I don't think the Packers are going to be that interested in those guys because they like guys with elite traits. They need to be able to do at least one thing at an elite level. What is it? And we know what it is with Dejon Stribling. And he also blocks at a really high level, and coaches are just going to love that stuff. And so in a class that is weird, where this is a bad defensive tackle class, it's a weird corner class that's clustered on day 2 for me, probably clustered on day 1 and then clustered later on day 2. I could see this being the surprise pick in the 2nd round, whether it's Stribbling, whether it's Brazel, whether it's Hurst. Keep an eye on these guys as we move through the next couple days ahead of the NFL draft. And if you're listening to this and the Packers picked him, I told you so. I promise I won't do that 30 times, but here we are late in the process. And I think that this guy has a very good chance to be someone that the Packers at the very least would like to draft. Whether or not they get that opportunity, we will see very short order here. Follow the podcast wherever you subscribe to podcasts. We'll be doing this as we get through up the NFL draft. And hopefully we'll be able to go back and look at some of these after the Packers make their selections. I'll have my scouting report ready for you. It'll be easy. It'll be easy peasy. Follow me on the social medias wherever you happen to be on social media. And if you're listening to this, it means you're an everydayer. You're part of the exclusive club of people who are just hardcore Locked On Packers fans. You get ad-free episodes of Locked On Packers. Plus, you get to be in the group chat on Discord and hang out with the boys as part of Everydayer Club status. Plus, we program the Friday News Dump around your questions. Be an Everydayer Club member. LockedOnPackers.supercast.com is the site. Click the link in the show notes for more. And as always, stay Locked On Packers.